Coming live from Cambodia is our guest this afternoon. Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And before I move forward, may I request you to subscribe, follow, like, and comment on whichever platform you are listening or watching this show on. And today we have Steven Rudolph, CEO of M&I and co-founder of Jiva Ayurveda. Welcome to the show, Steven. आपका स्वागत है. आप तो हिंदी जानते हैं, तो हिंदी में ही बात करिए जितना हो सकता है.
शुक्रिया. Thank you, Ajay ji. It's an honor to be here. And आपका वो energy बहुत जबरदस्त है. So it's fun to feel your energy and to be here with you.
थैंक यू धन्यवाद. ये एनर्जी हिंदुस्तान की माटी से है, जहां पर आपने 21 साल गुजारा भी है. तो हम उसके बारे में बात करेंगे आपसे. और सबसे पहले हम ये जानना चाहते हैं, आज हम बात करेंगे हाउ टू मेक अ करियर चॉइस दैट अलाइंस विथ योर पोटेंशियल. उसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे प्राइमरीली. लेकिन सबसे पहले आपकी जर्नी में भी बहुत सारी चीजें सीखने को मिलती हैं. तो पहले आप उस जर्नी के बारे में बताइए, पर्सनल डिस्कवरी के बारे में बताइए, जब आप एक म्यूजिक का कोर्स कर रहे थे न्यूयॉर्क से.
So when I go back into my own history, like originally, I wanted to be a rock star. That was my dream when I was young guy in high school and whatnot. I was quite good in music. And then one day I was going down the street, and when you're aspiring to be a rock star, you don't make any money. Right, you live a very poor kind of life. So I had to get a job, rozi roti ke liye, right? So मैं वो सड़क पे जा रहे थे और एक साइन देखा, उस पे लिखा कि वो wanted English teachers. So मैंने सोचा कि ठीक है, मुझे जानते हैं अंग्रेजी वो कितने मुश्किल हो सकते हैं वो पढ़ने के लिए, पढ़ाने के लिए. So I thought, all right, let me give it a shot. Let me get this job as a teacher. So I went and I got this job as a teacher. और मेरे वो सबसे पहले क्लास में जब मैं पढ़ा रहा था वो स्टूडेंट्स को, एक जैसे लाइक आकाशवाणी सुना. उसने कहा कि Steve, you're not a rock star, you're a teacher. And it ekdam, it just like hit me like a thunderbolt. And I thought to myself, my God, this is what I was meant to do. And Ajay, I realized at that time that some people get lucky and they get a calling, or they discover what they're meant to do, and they love their job and they're really passionate about it. लेकिन जब मैं देख रहा था वो सारे समाज पे, मैंने देखा कि वो majority के लोग वो जो काम कर रहे थे वो पसंद नहीं करते. They don't really love it. कोई passion नहीं, कोई there's no real juice that they're not. अपने काम से वो रस नहीं ले रहे. So I wonder why this is the case. How come it's like that? It shouldn't be like that. Like, I discovered by accident, and then I started to get really angry. I said to myself, school never taught me this. Schools have to teach kids who they are, not just rata and then exam pass karne ke liye. This is not what education should be about. So then I vowed, I said, okay, I'm going to make a school, and in my school, all the kids are going to know who they are. That's going to be the curriculum. And then I was invited to India in 1994, and I went and I opened up the Jiva public school in Faridabad. And the curriculum is based just on that. Who am I? And even till today, now I've left India maybe 7-8 years ago, but the school still goes on. There are 2,000 kids at Jiva public school, and that's the basis of the curriculum that I created. Who am I? And so that was my passion, my mission. And now I want to bring this to the world, which is everybody's got to know who they are. मैं कौन हूँ? मेरे प्रकोप क्या है? मेरे प्रकृति क्या है? मेरे स्वभाव क्या है? और क्या काम मेरे लिए वो सबसे best हो? That people should find this thing out. That's my mission.
Right, Steven. आप वो हिमालय की जर्नी के बारे में भी बताइए. जब आप हिमालय में की जर्नी पे गए, बहुत सारे लोगों से मिले, साधु संतों से मिले, विद्वानों से मिले, और उसके बाद जो आपको बहुत सारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग हुई, और उसके बाद आपने यू इवेंचुअली क्रैक्ड द कोड ऑफ 5,000-year-old scriptures that contain age-old secrets of personal alignment.
Yes.
उसके बिना ये कहानी अधूरी रहेगी.
So I was very fortunate, मैं कहता हूँ कि वो भारत जैसे एक वो Amazon.com about the spiritual knowledge, right? So whatever you want to know about the spiritual knowledge, you can find that in India. And this was the most powerful thing for me to explore while I was there. And I looked at a few things. I studied Gita, I studied different Vedas, and also Ayurveda. These are three areas that I looked into. And what I found was this very interesting things. One thing I found was in Ayurveda, एक concept है कि स्वस्थ. Now you know this in Hindi, right? You say आपका स्वास्थ्य,
Yes, yes.
स्वास्थ्य कैसे है, right? आपका स्वास्थ्य ठीक है? Like when you meet somebody, it's the first thing you ask them. If we look at this word स्वस्थ, where does it come from? Well, सबसे पहले part स्व है. स्व मतलब कि वो मैं, right? This means I, swa, right? Stha means to be situated in. So swa, stha means to be situated in yourself, to be aligned with yourself. So the concept, and we know that swasth means health. This is really amazing. So health, by the concept, by the philosophy of the Rishi Munis, was when I'm aligned with myself, then I'm healthy. The Western concept, what's the Western concept of health? Your body mass index, your cholesterol levels, right? Your sugar levels, all your blood pressure. But we know perfectly well, many times there are people, their blood pressure was okay, their cholesterol levels are okay, they're in the gym, they have a heart attack and they die. Why? So this means, so health is actually not about those levels. Health is really about how situated you are in yourself. So then I wanted to understand, what does that mean to be situated in yourself? So you can look from the Ayurvedic perspective, whether you look at your prakop, vat, pit, kaph, that you're eating the right foods, that you're practicing the right lifestyle, and then you're situated in your own prakriti, in your own nature. So one is from the dosha perspective, one is from the actual humors or the physical stuff of your body. But there's also a psychological component that's there. And this, if you go into Gita, you'll see very clearly what happens here. So everybody knows the story of Gita. In India, you don't have, outside I have to explain it, but you all know it. This is your great fortune. And so there, Arjuna is on this battlefield with Krishna, and he says, okay, I'm not going to fight because these are my relatives and I'm going to kill them. And I don't want that. And so Krishna says to him, look, everybody has a prakriti, a nature, and you can't escape your nature. No matter what, you're going to have to, and your nature is a kshatriya, you're a warrior. And that means that it's in your blood to fight. So that's your nature. You have to do that. Even if he says like, okay, I want to leave here, I'll become a sadhu, I'll go to some ashram someplace. No, you can't, because you'll get there and then for 1 week, 2 weeks, it'll be okay. Then you're going to start to want to fight because that's your nature. You have a nature to fight. So he says, forget all of that. Don't like run away. Do your dharma. Right. Dharma means work according to your nature. But like, the dharma of a hammer is to hit a nail, right? It's not to like keep your window open or to, scratch your back. You could use it for that, but that's not the dharma of a hammer. Dharma of a hammer is to hit a nail, but do it for good purposes. So in Sanskrit, like what you have sukh, dukh, hit, ahit. These are the axes that are there laid out in Ayurveda. So sukh is that which makes us happy, that's aligned with who we are. So do according to your swadharma, not according to what you're not. Right? And do it for the purpose of hit, which is for the benefit of society, not ahit, which is for selfish purposes. Like this is all laid out in Ayurveda and it's so obvious. But when I got there, people weren't explaining it to me. So it took me about 21 years to figure all this out with the help of some really great scholars. And so for me, what finding a career is about is understanding what does that mean, sukh? What aligns with my natural propensities? That's the first part. So some people, like yourself, I see you're entertaining. You're very funny, you're witty, and you have that energy. So that's an entertaining nature, right? That loves to entertain. There's also an educative nature. Those people who love to teach. There's a protective nature, just like Arjun, right? People who love to protect and to take care of the society. There's an administrative nature, which is to help people organize and get work accomplished. There's entrepreneurial. There's the Ambanis and, Ratan Tata and Elon Musk's, right? So there are different natures that are there. And all of this is explained. I just kind of pulled it out into my own way to make it easy for people to understand. And when you identify what I call them tigers just for fun, right? What your strong tigers are, like mine, you can see are definitely the educative. I love to teach, and entertaining. So I love to have fun while I'm teaching. So if you activate those tigers and you do work according to your natural abilities like that, then you get the ras. Then you enjoy what you do. And that's why what I discovered when I was in my, first job teaching, that's what I discovered. I discovered my tigers. I have this educative and this entertaining thing. So that's how you actually go about this process. There's more, but we'll get to it.
Right. Innate tiger, your tigers, you mean innate talents, and then that is how you help people to understand their tigers and how they can thrive by understanding them better, by getting them all personal, alignment with all their hidden talents. That's what you do at the moment. आप हमें ये बताइए स्टीवन कि जो करियर के मामले में है, हाउ टू मेक अ करियर चॉइस दैट अलाइंस विथ योर पोटेंशियल, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों के लिए बड़ी चिंता का विषय होता है। और आप तो हिंदुस्तान में 21 साल रहे हैं, तो आपको पता ही है बहुत सारे केसेस में पेरेंट्स का भी दबाव होता है, कई बार आपको खुद भी पता नहीं होता है, किसी को कुछ पता नहीं होता है, और आप ऐसी चीजें की तरफ ध्यान दे देते हो जो कि आपके लिए एक्चुअली आपकी प्रकृति से मेल नहीं खाता है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई यू डोंट थ्राइव इन लाइफ। सो ऐसे में आप कैसे क्या कर सकते हैं कि हाउ टू मेक अ राइट करियर चॉइस, हाउ टू मेक द करियर चॉइसेस इन लाइफ दैट इज अलाइन्ड टू देयर पोटेंशियल, आप कैसे इसको संबोधित करेंगे?
राइट, सो ये एक बड़ी बात है। वो हमारे वो बेटा का करियर क्या हो, what should he choose or what should she choose? This is such a big question, because if you make the wrong career choice in your life, then you're going to be setting yourself up for failure for the rest of your life. You're going to be miserable, and no parent wants that for their child. Every parent wants that their child is going to be a success and to get the success. But what happens? Most parents, you sit down with drawing room में वो बातचीत चल रहे थे, and they say, okay, हमारा वो बेटा डॉक्टर बनाना चाहिए, right? So this is the first choice. अगर ना तो, then what? Engineer. अगर ना तो वो civil service में जाएं. अगर ना तो, right, accounting में जाएं. So they're only thinking from the perspective of the job. They're not thinking from the perspective of the individual. Does this child have the capacity or the ability or the interest to do working with patients every day in a hospital every day? This is what I call a healing nature. This is a tendency, this internal feeling to help people out of pain. If they're going to go into engineering, do they have that logic and the structure and the visual spatial capacity to think in terms of engineering or not? Because if they don't, then every day that they go in and they study and then they go out and they work, it's kind of, if they don't have that nature, Ajay, it's kind of like a shoe that's too tight or too loose. Have you ever had that experience? You have a shoe that's too tight?
Many times. You
know what I'm talking about? And like, jab chalte hai, wo thoda, what do you say, gissa? I forget my Hindi already. Like,
बिल्कुल,
घिस जाते हैं, right? और कुछ देर बाद एक like फुंसी आ जाते हैं, right? पैर से, और केवल एक चीज सोच सकते हैं कि वो कैसे, वो ये जूता कैसे मेरे पैर से निकाल सकता है.
बिल्कुल.
That's like all you can think. So वो काम वो वैसे ही है कि अगर आपका काम आपका प्रकृति नहीं मैच करते हैं, जब वो काम करते रहते कुछ देर बाद केवल एक चीज सोच सकते हैं कि कैसे इस काम से निकल सकते हैं. And how do you get out of it? वो चॉकलेट खाते, वो चाय पीते, एक दूसरा चाय, वो तीसरा चाय, वो राइट चौथा चाय पीते रहते. कभी वो इंटरनेट पे जाते हैं, वो गेम्स चलते हैं, वो काम नहीं करते क्योंकि काम से निकलना चाहते. That's you feel I've got to get out of this thing. कभी वो office politics वो खेलते हैं, right? You start to go into some things and you talk, oh, did you hear what happened to Preeti over there? Because you don't enjoy the work, so you start enjoying the politics. This is what happens. And then you don't advance in your life. You get sick from eating the food. Kabhi kabhi kuch log wo cigarette peete hai, drugs use karte hai, alcohol peete hai. This is what happens when you don't enjoy your work. And parents don't think of this. And so, and children usually take the advice of parents or the advice of their friends. Lekin jo log apne सबसे पहले अपने प्रकृति आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं और फिर वो career choose करते हैं, वो सफल मिलते हैं. They enjoy the work, they get good at it, they advance very quickly, they get promotions, people pay them more, people want to be around them more, and then they get that path. और लोग सोचते हैं कि ये एक वो भगवान कृपा है. ये अच्छी बात है कि हमारा वो बेटा कुछ गुरु कृपा मिल रहा है, that he's advancing in his career. Now this can also be true, that you get some grace from the Lord. Like I feel I got some grace when I found that job at the beginning, and I heard Akashvani say, you're not a rock star, you're a teacher. This was some Guru Kripa or some Bhagavan Kripa that I got. I believe so. There's no question about it. But it doesn't only have to be that. There's a process by which we can also figure out mera prakriti kya hai. And then also if you get Bhagavan Kripa or Guru Kripa on top of that, there's nothing like it. It's fantastic. But first there's a scientific process we can find out mera prakriti kya hai. And that's what I want to help people do, to figure that out so they don't get stuck in the wrong job. And when they're 40 years old or 50 years old, they say, mera जीवन kya tha? Mera जीवन kya hai? मेरा जीवन खत्म हो रहा है और मेरे वो जॉब वो बिल्कुल नफरत करता है. मैं क्या करूं? I'm suffering my whole life. I never was a success. And now it's too late. So I want to prevent people from going down that path. And that this is what I believe the traditional literature was all about. That why did India get Ayurveda and why did India get the Gita? It's all in there, but I think many people have missed some of this essence, some of this message. And so I mean, I'm fortunate that I was able to discover that. And I want people to have the benefit of this great wisdom that comes out of India, especially Indians.
Right, Steven. I understand. तो ये करियर के मामले में सपोज आपने 12th तक या कॉलेज तक एक डायरेक्शन आपको मिल गई, थोड़ी सी सफलता भी मिली, पर वो आपके प्रकृति के हिसाब से नहीं थी. लेकिन लोगों के अंदर बहुत डर रहता है कि पता नहीं मैं आगे जो चीज मैं पसंद तो करता हूं बट वो करूंगा तो सक्सेस मिलेगी या नहीं, जो चीज है वो हाथ से छूट जाएगी. सो हाउ टू गो टुवर्ड्स द करियर पाथ दैट्स राइट फॉर oneself, and secondly how to face fear and uncertainty about one's abilities. How do you see that?
Great Ajay, that's such a good question, and the answer is this. जब मैं अपने प्रकृति समझता हूं, कोई डर नहीं है. डरने हो सकते हैं. When really I've realized myself, I know what my ability. जब मैं जो मैं कौन हूं समझता हूं, how can I be afraid? Where will the fear come? Okay, challenges are going to come my way, but when I know where I stand, then I know what I have to do to achieve my goal. कभी कभार मैं अपने आप वो goal मिल पाएगा. It's possible, लेकिन कभी-कभी मुझे कुछ help other चाहिए. Like I need some assistance, but then I know where I need my assistance from. Like in my case, my educative nature is strong. My entrepreneurial is quite strong. But I realize that my administration is not so good. I know that. So then I know where I can trust myself and where I need support. And so if I need support in administration, then I hired my own boss. I hired an assistant every day who checks with me. Steven, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And she checks with me because I know I'm weak there. I'm not as strong there. So I'm not afraid because I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm not strong. So the first thing I want to tell, I love your question, which is like, how can we overcome the fear? You first understand where you stand. And nobody will be perfect at everything. I don't care who it is. Whether it was Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk, or if we're talking the business world, or in Abdul Kalam, if we want to talk about the great scientists of the world, everybody has some qualities that are what I call big tigers, and they have some qualities that are not as pronounced, that they're not as big. And that's the beauty of the world. That's why Bhagavan didn't make everybody having all the qualities. We
Right.
it's kind of like a soup, right? If you have a soup, you have the water, and then you have some vegetables, and you have some mirch, and you have some salt, and you've got some vinegar. You can't have only salt. You can't have too much vinegar. You can't have too much of the sabzi. Otherwise, it's going to, right. So you need to have the right balance. And so each person brings to the world some part of this soup, whether it's your company or your country or your government or your office. You are contributing to a collective group of activities, and you're bringing something forward. Okay. And the important thing is that you have to know what it is that you're contributing, because if you're not particularly qualified in some area, you don't have a talent there, but then you think because I'm good in one area, I'm good with my entrepreneurial ability, that I'm also the most creative guy in the room, you'll kill the company. There are other people who are far more creative than you. So utilize those people for that. Or if it's you yourself, maybe you're very good with mathematics, you're not very interpersonal, you don't love to be around people too much, you're good with analyzing data, so fine. You don't have to become the manager and the CEO. You could be the best data analyst in the world and not deal with people at all, and you can make a fortune, and you could be really happy doing that. So that's what I mean by knowing what your place is, knowing what your this is such a big thing in the what I saw in the Indian philosophy, is that people really understand what it means to know their place in the collective. Like, when you talk about Pauji, Taiji, or Chacha and Chachi. So there's a different place versus Mama and Mommy and Mosa and Bua and Fufa. So you really have this mapped out that everybody's got their place. And I saw this when we do Sangeet, right? You call over everybody, and the Buas come out, and the Fufas come out, and the Chachis come out. And so when you understand what the unique value of each person is in the collective, then you can have, I'm taking it right out of Gita, then you have Leela. What is Leela? Leela is the divine drama. And that's what this world is. This world is just one big drama, Ajay. You're playing a role. I'm playing a role of Steven Rudolph in this drama, and I have to play my part the best. And if I play a really good role as Steven Rudolph, then that gives me an opportunity to get to the divine drama. That's what it's all about. This is what I understood from being there. So what I want every person to understand is to know what their place is in the world. And there could be more than one place. It's not that you only play one role. I play a role as a father and as a husband and as a son, and also in the multiple natures work that I do, and in my community work that I also do. And if I understand what that role is, what my nature is, I can contribute the best to myself, to my family, to my kids, and to the world, ultimately. So it's not just a small question of what job or what career should I do. It's far deeper than that.
Right. Right. Now, Stephen, talking of companies and working in companies, उसमें बहुत बार आपने देखा है कि चलिए आपसे तो गलती हो गई, आपने एक अलग तरीके का रास्ता चुन लिया करियर के मामले में, जो आपके लिए शायद और कोई रास्ता बेटर होता, लेकिन आप फिर अच्छी कंपनी में भी चले गए, जहां पे अगेन आपने कहा कि आपको अगर दिल नहीं करेगा वो काम करने का, तो आप इधर से उधर करेंगे, कभी कुछ और करेंगे, कभी कोई दूसरों के लिए भी समस्या खड़ी करेंगे, और अल्टीमेटली कभी कभी वो आपके समाज के लिए भी एक समस्या खड़ी हो जाती है. वैसे में जब रिक्रूटर्स, जो टैलेंट रिक्रूटर्स हैं, जो एचआर रिक्रूटर्स हैं, वो लोगों को हायर करते हैं, तो हाउ कैन दे हायर बेस्ट पीपल बेस्ड ऑन देयर टैलेंट्स? इस बारे में आप क्या बताना चाहेंगे उनके लिए?
Ajay, you got all the right questions. The responsibility is on two sides. The first responsibility is for me as an individual to know my nature and to pick the right career for myself that aligns with who I am, and then to find those available jobs in the market. But on the other side are the recruiters, and they have a challenge, which is, it's kind of like the people who are coming to them are showing resumes, and the resume says that I did this education as a computer programmer and so many years, etc. But what happens a lot of the times is that it's kind of like, imagine that the packaging, like you had different bags, and they're different bags of chips or something like that. And what's on the outside of the bag and what's on the inside are not always the same. Like, we don't have an experience much of this, but imagine that you opened up, you have some Uncle Chips package, right? So you open up and it says that this package of Uncle Chips is plain Uncle Chips, but you open it up and it's not chips, but it's peanuts. And you're like, what the heck? This is supposed to be potato chips, but there's peanuts inside. Well, this is what's happening to recruiters all the time. You know, they get somebody who says that, hey, I'm really good at this particular type of work. I'm a floor manager. And you get them there. I have so much experience. And you hire them, and they don't really function well. They can't manage people. There's a lot of politics that start to come up. They're always complaining about this or that. They're behind on their work. They don't turn in their reports. And then after 6 months, you think, what the heck? They showed me their certificates and that they had experience, but I hired them, and now it costs you like a year's worth of their salary in order to replace them. So recruiters have such a big responsibility of being, and they have to try to, and so many people are coming to them in a short time, and they need to have some way of x-raying people, right? To scan what's really inside this bag of chips. Is it really the potato chip, or is it, the pretzels, or is it some namkeen, or is it some haldiram, something else, right? So this is what I also help to do. So I've made tools. We have something called the multiple natures test, the MN test that I've made. And so this test will help to determine what's the nature of the individual. So you can see right away, is this person meant for sales or support? Because they're very different characters. The character of sales needs to be open, adventurous. They have to be able to convert a sale. But the role of support needs somebody who's got that seva bhav, right? Little, like, they want to help somebody, and they're more quiet and reserved, and they're very different natures in total. So if you're hiring somebody for support, you want somebody who's more seva bhav oriented, what I call providing nature. You want someone in sales, they have to be more entrepreneurial nature. And beyond that, you might also have tech support. So they have to be logical as well as having that providing seva bhav. So this way, if you go through like the test that I've created, the MN test, it will tell you that, does this person have the nature of any one of these particular roles?
Right. So you have answered both parts of the, both sides of this question, how to make a right career choice and how recruiters can choose the right talent available to them. Now, taking overall the life itself, Steven, अगर हम पूरी जीवन को लेकर देखते हैं, तो बहुत सारा chaos है. हर जगह आजकल chaos ही chaos है. चाहे मन के समाज में और मन के अंदर भी, और मन के अंदर शायद ज्यादा है, क्योंकि अब मन को आप अकेला छोड़ नहीं सकते, बिकॉज सोशल मीडिया इज देयर. तो आप मन के अंदर भी एक अलग मन है कि जो सोशल मीडिया के साथ भी जुड़ा हुआ है, और एक आपके अपने मन से जुड़ा हुआ है. वैसे बीच में हाउ टू फाइंड अ ग्रेटर बैलेंस इन लाइफ? हाउ डू यू अलाइन दैट with your nature, with the original nature that God has bestowed you with, and make yourself healthy and perhaps wealthy if possible, and actually fulfill your potential? इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
Ajay, you have the best questions. I have to tell you, you just hit the nail right on the head. There was that song way back I used to remember, like Kalbali, hey Kalbali. Remember that? Kalbali, hey Kalbali, Kalbali, hey Kalbali. Right? So Kalbali is all about chaos. And one of the things that people ask me about India, what did you get from India? And you know what I got from India? Was learning how to be balanced in chaos. And I think about Nataraj, right? Where you see that Nataraj, the dancing Shiva, with all this flames that represent all of the chaos. There's fire all around, right? The house is on fire. But in the meanwhile, you're dancing. You have everything under control. You have the dambru in the hand, right? Just managing the time, and you're dancing to it. And so everybody has their own inner beat. And I say, you have to dance to your beat, your inner beat. That's the way to do it. And so when you understand what your nature is, that gives you something to hold on to. Think about it for a second. If you're in a ship and you're in the water and there's some big wave and it turns the ship over and it breaks the ship into pieces, and the water is going and clouds are going around and stuff, what do you have to hold on to? So you grab hold of something. You grab hold of some piece of that boat, like remember Titanic, like they grab some piece of that wood to hold on to give you some kind of stability. So in this world of chaos, the thing that's the most stable is your prakriti, is your nature, because your nature doesn't change throughout your life. Your nature, Ajay, is formed within the first 7 years of life. And even from the modern scientific perspective, it's clearly explained how our neural pathways are myelinated in these first 7 years of our lives, that whatever experiences you have, whether you learn to play music or you became good with language or you learn to help people or you learn to heal people, all of that developed especially in the first 7 years of life. And those become your ingrained characters. That becomes your prakriti, your nature. And so what you need to do is and then after that time, people put stuff and ideas and conditioning into your head, parents and the society and stuff like that. And so part of your goal is to get rid of all of that conditioning and get back to your original nature to understand who you really are. And when you grab onto that, that's the thing that gives you that strength and the consistency and the stability that when the world is spinning around you, at least inside, you're not also spinning around. Because if you've got chaos outside and chaos inside, forget about it. This is what I call dukkhiatma. The people who are, who taught me that word? Shami Kapoor. Before he passed away, I met with him and I had a conversation. We were talking about these things. And when I was explaining these things, he taught me the expression dukkhiatma. And so this is what I understand. The people who are the lost souls are the ones who they don't know who they are inside, and they're thrown about in this water, in this chaos of the world. And so therefore, for me, what I understood about this literature from India is to first understand who I am and get a grip on my own nature, because that's the most consistent thing that I can hold on to. And when I'm sure of that, I'm not afraid, Abhay. I'm not afraid, and I can face the world with whatever challenges it brings to me. And that's that nataraj, that's that leela, that dance of within the chaos of all the fire going around.
Right, Steven. मुझे पता है आप जब हिंदुस्तान में थे तो बहुत सारे फिल्म पर्सनालिटीज, सेलिब्रिटीज, स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन्स, बिजनेस पीपल, बहुत लोगों से आपने मुलाकात की, और अभी आपने शम्मी कपूर जी का नाम लिया जहां से उन्होंने आपको बताया दुखी आत्मा के बारे में. दुखी आत्मा एक बहुत कॉमन सेइंग है. जब भी हमारे आसपास ऐसे बहुत लोग मिल जाते हैं और समझ में नहीं आता कि वो ऐसा क्यों है, बट देन एज यू आल्सो एक्सप्लेन दैट ये नेचर की बात है. तो हम जब मल्टीपल नेचर्स की बात करते हैं, देन देयर इज कमिंग कॉल्ड मल्टीपल नेचर सिस्टम, MNI, जिसके आप CEO हैं, जो आप कंपनी चलाते हैं कंबोडिया में. तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइए. इट्स एन एक्सटेंशन ऑफ व्हाट यू हैव लर्नड थ्रू ऑल दोस थिंग्स हियर इन इंडिया.
Yeah, so what I did, Ajay, was I took all of the learnings that I had, and it was important for me to make this into a method or a system that's easy for people to use for practical purposes in their daily life. So my company is called Multiple Natures International. The website is multiplenatures.com. And then I also have our tagline is Feed Your Tigers, because your abilities, I call them your tigers. So if you go to feedyourtigers.com, you'll also find our website there. So I tried to turn this into an easy to understand philosophy and method that students can use, working professionals can use, HR people can use. Even, Ajay, you'll be amazed. Retirees, people who finish their work and say, what should I do in my retired life? They're also making use of our system to understand where they can best use their natural abilities, even in their retired years. So it's got an application across spectrum. Students trying to figure out what their careers are, people who are in job transition, people who are burnt out, or people who feel frustrated. So the tools can be used like this. And what it does is that our test, the Multiple Natures test, will help you to figure out what those abilities are. And then it will also tell you which are the careers that would be the best for you based on your nature. So anytime you've got a problem that you want to consult, whether you're from the HR side or you're from the individual side, you can use these tools to help you to make those decisions. And by getting yourself in alignment, it has that entire range of benefits that we talked about before. We start from the individual, get out of chaos, and then bring yourself to this much further point. We talk about Leela, that comes later on, but there are practical steps also in the process. And so that's what I've created with Multiple Natures.
राइट स्टीवन, आपने बहुत सारी चीजों के बारे में बताया, आपने अपनी कंपनी के बारे में बताया और इनफैक्ट उसके बेनिफिट्स के बारे में बताया कि वहां पर आपको कितने रिसोर्सेज मिल सकते हैं। तो मैं यूट्यूब डिस्क्रिप्शन में उसके बारे में, उसके लिंक्स और आपके कनेक्ट के बारे में, कैसे आपसे कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं, वो यूट्यूब डिस्क्रिप्शन में जरूर डालूंगा ताकि लोग वहां से भी डायरेक्टली आपके वेबसाइट तक आप तक पहुंच सके और आपसे से ज्यादा सीख लें। बट यही कहना चाहता हूं कि हमारा ये पहला इंटरव्यू है, लेकिन यहीं से शुरुआत है, ये अंत नहीं है, क्योंकि मुझे आपसे बहुत सारी चीजों के बारे में जानना है, समझना है। और भले मैं हिंदुस्तान में हूं, बट यहां इतना नॉलेज है कि एक जीवन कम है और इसी में सीखना भी है, समझना भी है। और बहुत लोग इसीलिए शायद हिंदुस्तान में बार बार जन्म लेने की कामना करते हैं। लेकिन आपने बहुत कुछ सीखा है, उसकी जरूर मेरी कामना है कि मैं आपसे भी सीखता रहूं। इसी कामना के साथ मैं ये इस वक्त ये शो इसमें समाप्त करता हूं। इट्स अ रैप ऑन दिस एडिशन of the very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much, Steven.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। Thank you, Ajay ji.
धन्यवाद।